What's up guys, Yasser here, welcome back to my channel. You're watching Yasser's Fit Frag and today I'm going to talk about another list of clone oils from Perfume Depot. So if you haven't watched my first video on Perfume Depot, you can watch it using the above link. So the list that I'm going to show you today are completely different from what I have shown in the first video. So I'm not going to compare those lists with the current lists. It's totally going to be different. So I'm going to do a series of his collections that I would be trying every time and the ones which I like the most from each of the list. So before I start with the list, I would like to mention that the prices which I have mentioned in the first video have changed over time because the prices increase every year. I think you guys know it. There is production cost difference, there is GST introduced. So all of those being in place, the prices cannot stay the same. So I think right now 50 ml costs about 800 or 850 and then 100 ml costs about 1100. So even if you compare a good quality fragrance oil with other sellers, I think this is still reasonable because I don't think you can get export quality for such reasonable price. So before I start with the list, I would like to mention about David of Agha blend, which I think I have mentioned in the previous video, but because I liked the sample that he gave me, I bought a full bottle of this one. In my opinion, this is definitely one of the best of his collections. It opens up with that soft agar wood, which even if you are not an oud lover, you would still like this in my opinion, because the agar wood is not so prominent or not so potent like how typical oud is. So this is very soft, very pleasing, and it is well blended with dry grapes, resins, and then also a little bit of strawberry kind of feel, which is not the feminine side, okay? So it is totally masculine because it is well blended with agar wood. So I really enjoy wearing this one. Along with this one, I got 10 samples. So similar to the first video that I made, I would first mention the 4 samples, which I was not very impressed. And then I would switch on to the next 6 samples, which I really liked. Okay, so to start with, the first one is Wood Blend, which is again interpretation of David of Wood Blend. This is not bad, but I personally do not like amber much. So this opens up with woody note, and then in the dry down you would get amber, because of which I did not find it so mind-blowing. But people who love amber would definitely like this, because I've seen people who have bought this and have told me that they really like this one. So it all depends on your taste. So according to my taste, I'm not an amber lover. So if you like wood-based fragrance mixed with amber, then that is something that you would definitely like. So coming to the next one is Aqua Dgo Profumo. So in my first video, I've talked about Aqua Dgo, which I would still stand by, because Aqua Dgo Profumo opens up with a very dominant patchouli, and I did not get the feel of the original Aqua Dgo. I would still go by Aqua Dgo because that is more close towards the original Aqua Dgo. The next one is La Nuit de l'Homme. Again, I did not feel this being close to the original YSL La Nuit de l'Homme, because this again has that patchouli opening with some cardamom touch. But I did not feel that this one is close to the designer one. The next one is Bulgari's Aquamarine. Now this is definitely close to the designer, I would say about 75%, because this has that fresh aquatic notes with that touch of salty note, which you also find in the designer one. And I am not fond of the designer one as well. So because of which, though this is matching with the designer one 75%, I still did not find this so interesting. So that's the last one among the 4. So now coming to the ones which I really liked. So the first one is La Male, which is Jean Paul Gaultier La Male. And to be honest, this definitely smells close to Jean Paul Gaultier La Male. I would say about 80%. But again, like I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of Jean Paul Gaultier La Male. I rather prefer Ultra Male. So if you like JPG La Male, then I'm sure this is something that you would love. So the second one is Prada L'Homme. So if I compare this with the designer one, I would say it is about 60 to 65% or maybe even 70% close, because this definitely has that smooth, soft iris note kind of a feel, just like the designer one. But it is not very, very close. I do like the designer one more, but if I have to talk about how well it is done, it is definitely done well. It is soft, smooth, little bit powdery, not the old-fashioned cuticura powder that you get. It is little modern, definitely. And the best part of this is this stayed about 15 hours on my clothes when I tried. Though it is not too loud in the opening, it is pretty decent but stays very, very long. So I did not realize that it was staying for 15 hours. So I was wearing it for a few hours and then I hung my t-shirt on the hook behind my door. And then when I wore it the next day, I could still smell that on my t-shirt. So that's how I realized that it still stays for 15 hours. So coming to the next one is Bulgari's Aqua Amara. And I have to be honest that I do have the designer one and it is very, very close, guys. So give it like 10 minutes after you apply, and in case you have ever smelled Bulgari Aqua Amara, it is definitely 80% close within 10 minutes after you wear. The only difference I get is the designer one has that bitter orange kind of feel. This has more of a sweet orange peel, which is why they come very close to each other, 80% close. But the only sad part is after like 4 hours, after the dry down, this kind of changes and it brings out that woody note. So it does not match with the designer one after 4 hours because it turns towards more woody than the orangish feel that you get in the beginning. But otherwise it is definitely a good scent. It stays 10 hours plus when I tested, so not bad at all. So coming to the next one is Versace Pour Homme, and again this is really nicely done. I would say about 75 to 80% close to the designer, but unfortunately this did not last that long. I would say about 6 to 8 hours is what I get. But as a scent character, like you always know, fresh fragrance do not last that long, but the quality of the smell that he has made is really commendable. So this is very soft, smooth, aquatic kind of a feel. And if you're okay with say 6 to 8 hours longevity, this is definitely a must try. So the next one is Bleu de Chanel. So I do have the designer as well, but I would say that this is more towards the eau de toilette version of the designer Bleu de Chanel. Mine that I have is an eau de parfum. So this is more close towards Bleu de Chanel eau de toilette. If you have ever smelled this, I would say about 70 to 75%. So one of my colleague who tested this after I bought, he really liked this and he bought a 50 ml or a 25 ml, I don't really remember, but he really loved this one. So I'm sure if you like Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette, you would definitely like this one. So the last one is my favorite among all the 10 that I have, and that is the one from Dolce Gabanna. So this is the designer one, Dolce Gabanna the one, and he has interpreted that. And to be honest, this is 80% close, guys. I'm not kidding you. So give it 10 minutes after you apply. Do not immediately judge after applying, oh, this is not close. So don't do that. Give it 10 minutes and then you compare side by side. I would say easily 75 to 80% in my opinion, because this definitely has that dominant cardamom note along with little bit of ginger, just like the designer Dolce Gabbana the one. And in the base, after dry down, you would get a little bit of amber, similar to Dolce Gabbana the one. So to give you the history, I had taken sample of this, I think 1.5 years back, and that time it was not close to the designer one at all. And I immediately told him that the Dolce Gabbana, the one which he prepared, was not even close to the designer. And he said he's going to speak to his chemist about it. And I think I'm buying this again after 1.5 years from the time I tested initially. And I have to appreciate the current reformulated version that he has created. It is 75 to 80% easily close to the designer one. The designer one is like, I think I paid about 180 dirhams if I remember correctly from Dubai. That's like 3,700 INR. And this is just 550 for 25 ml. What else you need? If you have to make perfume by adding ethanol, buy a 25 ml, add ethanol. You can just make it for say 700 bucks. So in case you like the designer Dolce Gabbana the one, I would definitely recommend this. So you never know, when he creates the next batch, it can even get better or it might lose the closeness to the designer one that it is currently, because I have felt that at times. If I have to take the example of Ultra Male, which I initially tried, that was very, very strong, and the current Ultra Male which I bought recently was not that strong compared to the older one, but it still smells good. no much of a difference in the smell, but the strength of the initial ultra male that he prepared was super strong, and that's the reason I mentioned in my first video that I only used 8 to 10 ml and then added 90 ml ethanol to make it a 100 ml one, because it was that strong in the beginning. The current reformulated version is a little mild, but it is still strong, so I would still say that it stays 10S plus, but not as strong as the first batch that he created. So in case you like the designer Dolce Gabbana, the one, I would definitely recommend this one. Beautiful creation. So try it before he creates the next batch, because I have no idea whether it is going to get better or it could get worse. So that's about the list. So thanks for watching. Once again, in case you try any of these, let me know how you feel about these fragrances. So see you next time in another video. Cheers.